All right, ladies and gents, thank you so much for being here. I'm going to be completely honest. This is actually the first webinar that I have ever conducted in my life. Okay, and although this may look quite professional and clean, what you're seeing there, I have got lights, I have got cords, I've got cables, I've got monitors, left, right, and center. So please, if I do encounter any technical difficulties along the way, um, please cut me a little bit of slack. All right. Okay, I've just had a little pop up here. Okay, fantastic. We're good to go. We've got 87 participants. By the way, thank you everybody for tuning in tonight. The fact that you're here is a sign that you want to achieve a result. Okay, you may have been following fad diets for years on end. You're confused about fat loss. You don't know where to start. And let's face it, there is so much misleading information on the internet nowadays. I do not blame you for being confused because I've got to be honest, sometimes I see things and it confuses me as well. So, the intention for tonight is I want to break down all of those confusions. I want you to walk away from tonight's session not feeling overwhelmed, but I want you to feel just much more confident in your approach to health, fitness, and weight loss. And I think this is going to be fantastic for everybody involved. So, like I said, thank you for being here. I have actually written a few things down tonight, which is very unlike me because I usually wing life, if I'm to be completely honest. And even the notes that I've put down here, they're very minimal because I do just like to speak from the heart. And my intention is also not to bore you to death as well. Okay. So, first of all, I will introduce myself. Okay. Although you follow me on social media, I'm assuming you may not know everything about me. So, just the quick version, my name's Mitch Little. I'm 36, 37 soon, actually, in a month or two. I live on the Gold Coast and I'm a bloody personal trainer. Okay. Simple as that. Myself, my wife, and a team of professional coaches, we help predominantly women during perimenopause and menopause lose weight worldwide and keep it off. And just on that, for those of you who have followed me for a while now, you probably saw me transition more so into the women's health scene. And the honest reason for that was watching the changes that my wife was experiencing through perimenopause, seeing how much it can affect a woman, not just physically, but mentally. And I saw that there was a massive gap that needed a bridge because there was so much confusion about fat loss, about nutrition. And to be completely fair, I think it just makes everything so much harder for people when women are trying to go through this period, trying to decide what they should do. Everything they're seeing each day on social media is a complete mess. Okay. So that's how I basically got into that. Before I got into the online scene, I actually ran a personal training studio. I've conducted over 10,000 face-to-face personal training sessions. And before that, I was actually a construction worker. Okay. So the reason why I like to let people know a little bit about my backstory is because I believe everything that I've done so far in my life, not just with health and fitness, it's given me a more realistic approach to helping individuals achieve a goal. I've lived in the real world. I've done the 9 to 5, sitting in traffic, digging holes for 16 years. I know what it takes to pack a lunch to go to work. With the 10,000 face-to-face PT sessions that I've done, I understand that it is not a one size fits all. So, look, intentions for tonight's webinar is first of all, I want to help you understand the basics of fat loss, just to understand the basic fundamentals of fat loss and what is required. I also want to give you a better understanding of nutrition. This is absolutely crucial if you want to have long-term success. I want to help you understand things like structured meal times and why that can be such an important, powerful player in terms to fat loss. I want to remove you, hopefully tonight. This would be the biggest breakthrough, I think, remove you entirely from fad diets. Okay. After tonight's webinar, you should be able to walk away from hopefully whatever fad diet you're currently on and at least get yourself onto a better path. I want to go through how to weigh yourself. My gosh, the ability to weigh yourself is absolutely crucial. I'm sure that you could probably put your hand up right now and say that your weight loss goal has been sabotaged numerous times purely due to the fact that you didn't understand what you were seeing on the scales when you stepped on. And you know what? That's a crying shame because scale fluctuations can be quite easy to understand. And when you do understand that this is a part of life, part of a weight loss goal, it becomes less scary and you just know how to collect that data. I got a few emails over the last few days as well. Some people were sort of writing in, sending through some concerns about specific dietary needs, even specific situations, whether it be work conditions, travel conditions. One thing I will say is that I'm not giving advice to the individual tonight. I'm giving a broad spectrum that can help everybody out. So, regardless of your dietary requirements, regardless of your own personal situation, work environment, travel times, etc., you will be able to utilize the tips that I give you tonight to help you lose weight and keep it off. Now, the title for tonight's seminar is How to Lose 5 to 10 Kilos in 10 Weeks. I know that that may sound completely ridiculous, particularly if you've been trying to battle even just 1 kilo off for the last few months. Trust me, I know it happens. Many of our clients, before they jumped on with us, were in the exact same position. But you need to understand that you can lose weight. Okay. This is a great segue, actually. I wrote down a few ground rules for tonight's webinar because I want you all to have success. I don't want this to be a waste of time. So, ground rules for tonight's seminar is if you refuse to believe that you can physically lose weight, that you cannot lose weight, all right? If that's in your mind, I cannot lose weight no matter what I do, you may as well tune out now, okay? Because a huge error a lot of people do when it comes to fat loss is tell themselves that they can't lose weight. You can. Okay, you genuinely can. So we need to sort of change that mindset and get you into a more positive train of thought. Ground rule number 2: if you refuse to take notes tonight, tune out. Okay, you may as well not even be here. It'll just be a wasted hour. You could probably go and watch maths or something like that right now. Tune out. Go do something else. You have to have a pad and pen ready just to at least scribble down some notes because trust me, writing things down is always going to help you learn. Number 3, if you refuse to implement the information that I give you tonight, what's the point of being here? Okay. Go sit on the couch, go watch maths. All right. I'm sure there's like a commitment ceremony or something that you could be watching right now. There's no point being here if you're not going to implement these skills. Okay. Now, I learned this the hard way myself so many times in my life. The amount of times that people gave me golden information to help me progress in my life, in my business, in my mindset, and I didn't apply them for years on end. I just wasted time. So please make sure that you do these. And look, number 4, this seminar is for people who genuinely want help. I don't want you to be in the mindset of, yeah, the idea of weight loss sounds cool. I suppose it sounds fun. I really want you to be here for the right reasons. This is such a valuable time for you right now to absorb information and completely change your perception on weight loss. We want results tonight, okay? I'm seeing some love hearts going up in the corner, so that's a fantastic sign already. I'm excited to be here. I am a real geek, a real nerd when it comes to speaking about health, fitness, and weight loss. The amount of time that I'm sitting at a dinner table at a restaurant, and somebody asks me a question, their partner might say, "Mitch doesn't want to talk about that," but I really do. I'm very, very enthusiastic about helping people achieve results, and I want to give you everything that I know. But like I said, we're not going to get too scientific. We're not going to deep dive into things because honestly, it doesn't have to be as hard as you think. When you apply these habits that I'm going to give you tonight, you're going to be in a much better situation. You're with me? Chuck up some love hearts in the corner if you're enjoying this so far and you're already feeling motivated. Yeah. Okay. All right. So I'm going to say a word now that is so boring that I think every personal trainer on the planet has said 10 billion times already, but we are going to say it again. The first thing that we need to establish when it comes to a successful fat loss phase is establishing your calorie deficit. Oh my gosh, I said it. Calorie deficit. Don't you get sick of hearing that? Now, huge issue with a lot of people is assuming that you're in a calorie deficit. An individual will say, look, I've been in a calorie deficit now for the last 6 weeks and I haven't lost any weight. We have to understand that that is going against science. It is impossible. If you give your body less calories than it needs to survive on a day to day basis, you will lose fat. If you give your body too many calories than it needs, more calories going in, then more calories going out, this is where you will gain weight. So, the first thing we need to do is establish a calorie deficit. The first thing that you're going to do right now is write down after this webinar, you're going to go to my landing page. Just Google Mitch Little Academy macro calculator. This is going to give you your macros and your calories that are required for fat loss. You send us your information, I'll send you your calories. This is the first thing that you need to know. Very, very important. So, ladies, gents, at this stage, if you're not losing weight, if you haven't had success with fat loss, you just have to acknowledge the fact that for whatever reason, you're not in a calorie deficit. And this could be due to so many variations. Okay. This, and it may not even be through the lack of effort. It's mostly just due to a lack of knowledge. All right. And we'll get into a few things through this webinar that will sort of make you go, okay, that makes sense. So step one, we're establishing the calorie deficit. Number two, a really, really important thing that we have to take on board is understanding that, yes, although a calorie deficit is the driver of fat loss, the calories that we choose to consume through the foods we consume, it's either going to make a weight loss goal easy or it's going to make a weight loss goal really hard. Can I get some love hearts up in the corner right now? If you've ever said to yourself, I'm not eating much food, but I seem to be gaining weight. Okay. Yeah. Super common. So basically, when we look at foods, we want to ensure that 90% of our nutrition, 90% of what we eat is coming from nutrient-dense whole foods. The easiest way to think of nutrient-dense whole foods is just think of adult choices. Lean cuts of meat, fruit, veg, potatoes, yogurts, things like that. If 90% of your trolley looks like nutrient-dense whole foods, you're already off to a fantastic start. Now, let's be honest. We're human beings. We want to have a little bit of the naughty stuff too, okay? The other 10% of your nutrition can come from all of those guilty pleasures. If the balance is the other way, this is where you're going to have trouble with fat loss. Now, next time you're at the supermarket, do this in a non-judgmental way, but just observe. Compare people's trolleys, okay? You'll often see that somebody who's struggling with weight, their trolley looks extremely different to an individual who is having success with weight management. And if you compare what is in each of those individuals' trolleys, you can start to put the pieces of this puzzle together quite easily. So 90% of your diet, nutrient-dense whole foods, the other 10% can come from whatever you like. So let me just give you an example of a day that may not be so nutrient-dense, something that is going to give you issues when it comes to fat loss. Now, by the way, the fantastic thing about eating nutrient-dense whole foods is they're higher in food volume and lower in calories. So when you look at food, when you're eating nutrient-dense food, it looks like a lot of food. Believe it or not, one of the biggest I don't want to say complaints, but I suppose it is, about our program is clients will write in and say, I never used to eat this much food. I can't eat this much food. I'm going to gain fat if I eat this much food. It's because we've switched the ratios around. More nutrient dense, less low nutrient dense. So, okay, let's just do a rough low nutrient dense day on a plate. Okay, you might start your day off with a bowl of granola, and a piece of fruit. Okay, so straight away the bowl of granola, not very nutrient dense, super high in calories. You're going to run into issues there. No protein. For lunch, you may go to the local bakery, get yourself a sausage roll. Yeah, it's not much food, but high in calories. Again, going to run into some trouble. Maybe you wash that down with a full strength Coke. And then dinner, maybe you just drive home, whack into a drive-through, order yourself some Thai food. This is where the wheels start to fall off, truthfully. Okay. And like I said, you can look back on a day's eating, say, I haven't eaten very much. Why am I still gaining weight? Another perfect example of a low nutrient dense food option that contains so many calories is a packet of potato chips. All right. 170 grams worth of Smith's potato chips contains close to 1,000 calories. Now, love hearts up in the corner if you can sit down and eat a packet of chips and still be hungry. Yeah, wild, isn't it? But if I said to you, here's 2 kilos worth of potatoes, I want you to eat those right now. You'd say, my gosh, I can't eat 2 kilos worth of food, 2 kilos worth of potatoes. That's going to make me fat. This is where we have to switch our mindset around. It's not about eating less food. It's actually about eating more food, but ensuring that the foods we choose are lower in calories. And this is the secret to a successful fat loss phase. It's incredible. Imagine losing body fat, but not feeling hungry. Losing body fat and knowing that you can still enjoy a piece of chocolate at the end of the night, that you can still have some low fat ice cream, but you just can't go crazy on this stuff. I wish you could. I didn't make the rules. I wish I could sit down every single night and eat a whole packet of Tim Tams, but the reality is the same rules apply to me. So 90% nutrient dense food, 10% low nutrient dense. So next time you're at the supermarket, I want you to assess, what am I putting in my trolley? Don't start by going down the chip aisle and the chocolate aisle and getting the ice cream. You save all of that for last and make sure that it's a very small percentage of what you're eating each day. Macros. Who knows what macronutrients are? Give me some love hearts if you don't know what macronutrients are. That's okay. I don't know what they are either. Can you tell me? All right. So, macronutrients are protein, carbohydrates, and fats. They make up the majority of our nutrition. Okay. Now, why do I want to quickly touch on protein, carbohydrates, and fats? It's really important to understand the calorie breakdown of these items. For protein, each gram contains 4 calories. Carbohydrates per gram contain 4 calories. Now, fats, we're talking about things like olive oil, macadamia nuts, avocado. Did I say avocado? Fats contain 9 calories per gram. So when we're looking at constructing a day's eating, remember, we want to try and eat as much food volume as possible for as few calories as possible. So I recommend that when creating a day's eating, you want to have moderate protein in your diet, moderate carbs, and lower fats. Remember, fats don't make you fat, but an overconsumption of calories will. And the calories that we choose to eat, are either going to bump our daily calories up really quickly, or it's going to give us some buying space. A really great example of the comparison for calories that I like to do all the time is, who likes macadamia nuts with salt on them? Give me some love hearts if you like. Yeah, you love yourself some macadamia nuts with some salt on it. So do I. One handful, roughly 100 grams of macadamia nuts contains 1,000 calories. 1,000 calories. How easy is it to come home from work and eat a handful of macadamia nuts? How easy is it to consume a whole meal and then sit on the couch at night, watch Married at First Sight, and eat a handful of macadamia nuts? Simple. But in our minds, we think, but they're healthy. This doesn't matter. But it does. The calories you eat do matter. They really genuinely do. Which is a really important segue into the fact that just because you believe you're eating healthy, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's automatically going to give you a pass into a calorie deficit and help you lose fat. Are we all learning something so far? I hope so. A few love hearts in the corner. We want to get some interaction. Thank you so much. I don't want this to be just about me. All right. We want to have some fun with this. All right. Stoked to see. So far, you've learned that a calorie deficit is necessary. You're going to go to my landing page and we're going to give you your macros and your calories for that. So you're set. You understand that you need to eat 90% nutrient dense whole food and you need to keep the low nutrient dense food down to about 10%. Okay. And by the way, let me just quickly rattle off the top of my head like a day on a plate that could be more nutrient dense based. You might wake up and have yourself a few eggs on a piece of sourdough with a side of fruit. Fantastic. How good's that? Protein, carbs, fiber, tick. Lunchtime, you might have yourself like a chicken pumpkin salad. You might have yourself a chicken wrap. Super fantastic, super easy. Straight away, you can see again, we've got protein, fiber, everything's looking good. And then dinner, you might have yourself like a piece of steak, some greens, and some oven roast potatoes. All right. That's just a quick one off the top of my head. Okay. And then, of course, you're going to have yourself a little bit of dessert, but you're going to make the better choice with that. And throughout the day, you can have some calorie controlled snacks. I mean, doesn't that sound a whole lot better than fasting for 16 hours a day, removing carbs from your diet and doing all that stuff that makes you sad? I think so. All right. So we've gone through macronutrients. You understand that protein and carbs are very similar in calories per gram. You now know that fats are much higher in calories per gram, and you want to look at minimizing those. Okay. Minimizing fats. Don't demonize, just minimize. Now, I need everybody to be very honest here. Who consumes one alcoholic beverage a day? Let's get some love hearts in the corner. This isn't a place to judge. I just want to get a feel for the room. Okay. Getting some love hearts. Is there anybody who consumes more than 3 alcoholic beverages per day? Again, no judging. I just want to get a feel for the room. Okay. A few there, not too bad. Okay. We have to reduce our liquid calories. All right. So just imagine when you wake up in the day and you know you've only got X amount of calories that you can consume to give yourself successful fat loss. And remember that you don't want to be hungry. You want to feel full. You want to be sustained. So making sure that the calories you're consuming are high in volume and low in calorie is super important. It is very easy to overconsume liquid calories. And many people don't even think about them. You don't consider them. You don't think they count, but they count far more than you think. And we've worked with clients who have had massive success with fat loss purely by decreasing their liquid calories. So we want to look at decreasing things like alcohol, absolutely. If you're really serious about a fat loss phase, I strongly recommend that you reduce or remove. Best case scenario is removing it for a period of time to give yourself best success. You also want to look at reducing things like juices, having several milk-based coffees every single day, sugary beverages, swap all of that for sugar-free options, okay? Let's get these liquid calories down. The majority of your hydration needs to come through water, Okay. It really does need to come through water. But you can also have things like black coffees, skim milks for your coffee is a fantastic swap from full cream. You're going to halve your calories right there. Sugar free options like putting in some cordial, completely fine. Sugar free Powerades, sports drinks, completely fine. Sugar free options, I know for some reason in some circles get such a bad rap, but I highly recommend them because they really do help you stay on track with the fat loss phase. So we need to decrease those liquid calories. Can you pop up some love hearts in the corner if already you're starting to calculate the amount of liquid calories that you may be consuming on a day-to-day basis? Yeah, it's crazy. And look, you know, don't feel bad because it's one of those things, unless somebody tells you, you just don't acknowledge it. Okay. You just aren't that aware of it. Now, just before we get off liquid, I do want to talk about liquid really quickly as well. Okay. You can't even see that, but there you go. I've got a glass of water right here. Who doesn't drink much water at all? Show of hands. Okay. Believe it or not, water is one of the most important things that you can incorporate to have a successful fat loss phase. It is crucial, okay, for so many reasons. Water is going to obviously keep you hydrated. When you're hydrated, you're less likely to consume liquid calories elsewhere. Water is fantastic for your digestion, and water also regulates your hunger. Water itself, in fact, is a crucial ingredient for the process, for the scientific process of breaking down fat efficiently. So you need to have adequate water in your diet. Please, everybody, get your pad and pen out now. I will tell you this again at the end, but I'm going to touch on it briefly right now. How much water should you consume? 35 mil of water per kilo of weight daily. That is your water target. Okay. I'll say it again 35 mil of water per kilo of body weight each day is the target that you want to hit for fat loss. Pro tip: when you wake up in the morning, get yourself a nice big glass of water, chuck in an electrolyte. It's a fantastic way to start your day off with hydration. When you wake up in the morning, you're at your most dehydrated state for starters. So getting electrolyte in is going to give you a really great start to the day. Please drink water. Now, before I move into the next topic, I just want to talk about the expected rate of weight loss. And this is going to be a segue into scales as well. When I talk about weighing yourself, everything's going to make a lot more sense because initially what I say to you, this may seem a little bit frightening because you think, geez, how am I going to manage that? Trust me. The average weight loss for our clients is 0.5 to 1 kilo per week. Lower end of the scale, 300 grams of body fat per week. But even that is fantastic. Okay. Can you imagine losing that amount of body fat consistently for a 10, 15, 20-week period? It's literally life-changing. Now, I've given you all this information about macronutrients, about calories, about nutrient-dense food, low nutrient-dense food, but you're sitting there now thinking, okay, fantastic. What do I do with that? This is a very important juncture. Juncture or junction? We'll go with junction, sounds better, I think, for many of you. Because this, in fact, is where a lot of people go, you know what? That sounds like a lot of hard work. I might just tap out. And I don't want you to do that. I do not want you to be one of those individuals who taps out. I want you to fight for this. I want you to learn something. I want you to apply it, and you're going to do it. We've got a few options, ladies and gents. Option number one is you can purchase all these ingredients from the shops. Make sure that your trolley is 90% nutrient-dense food. Make sure the remainder is 10%. You're going to decrease your liquid calories, particularly your alcohol. You're going to drink more food. Sorry, you're going to drink more water. Doing that alone, believe it or not, may be all it takes for you to start to see the scales go down. But what if we want to take it to the next level? What if we don't want to leave it to chance? What if we want certain results? Well, this is when you've got to track. How do I track? Well, there's got to be an element of education. Okay? This is when you can use things like Google. How much protein is in 100 grams of chicken? How many carbs are in X amount of rice? How many calories are in this? This is when you can start to construct your meal plans. This is when you can build yourself a breakfast, a lunch, a dinner, your snacks, your dessert. Is it a little bit hard work? Absolutely, for sure. But how else are we meant to figure that out? You can also use apps like MyFitnessPal. Okay, write that down as well. You can use apps like MyFitnessPal. This will help educate you on all those things. You can type in how much protein and calories are in 100 grams of chicken breast, how much protein is in 2 eggs, how many carbs are in these 2 slices of bread. You can start to piece together yourself a meal plan. Now, like I said, yes, this does require a bit of work, but if you don't want to leave anything to chance, you have to design yourself a meal plan, put it out in front of you, follow it. This is a very important one. This topic here is extremely important. In my opinion, I think if you want to safeguard yourself to have successful fat loss, this is one of the most important things. And it does require that self-accountability and a level of discipline from the individual to implement this. And I will say, in fact, in terms of a fat loss result, the individuals who do better are the ones who implement that self-accountability, that willpower, that control. It isn't sometimes something that comes straight away, but if you just keep on pushing yourself to turn up, to turn up, to turn up, eventually what may feel a little bit difficult at the start, it becomes second nature. The reality is everything that all of you are about to embark on, perhaps, is exactly what I'm doing right now. It's exactly what my wife does. It's exactly what our clients do. The only difference is we've taken our training wheels off now. Okay? We've done it for an extended period of time. We've collected the data. We've got time in the saddle. We don't need to think about it anymore. We don't necessarily have to weigh our food. We don't really have to build our meal plans. We just know the choices to make. We've made so many meals that we can look at a plate and go, there's no way I'm over consuming calories on that. That's perfect. And this is the place that I hope you all get. So let's talk about meal structure. Is everybody having a good time so far? I'm really trying my best not to bore you. Okay, I don't want to be boring. We good? Nice. We could do a little intermission in maybe 5 minutes if you want me to get my dog and show you him. He's very cute. We could do that. All right. Keep your meals simple. My gosh, why is it that recipes nowadays require you to source goat's cheese from the peak of Mount Everest? You can only eat organic beef, $1,000 per gram. It doesn't have to be that way. Let's keep our meals really simple. We're all busy people, okay? We've got kids, jobs, mortgages. There's so much happening in our life. Why are we making our meals so complicated? Keep them simple. Eggs on toast with some fruit. Tick. Chicken sandwich. Easy. Spaghetti bolognese for dinner. Let's just think about minimum ingredients, which moves me into the next step. Keep your variety low. Keep it low. Just to give you an understanding of what I do, what my wife does, what our clients do, and this gives you the best success, trust me. And you speak to anybody who has success with weight management, we're all doing it, is we keep things simple. We find a few meals that we just love, that we just really enjoy eating, and you eat them consistently for weeks on end. The weekends, sure, you may have a bit of variety, go out with a friend, go out with your partner, fantastic, but then bang, straight back onto that routine. The less variables that you can throw into your week, you are truly going to set you up for more success because there's less to think about. The less variables you give yourself each week, you will lose weight faster. Believe me. And then everything just becomes a carbon copy. Okay. Wow, I lost 500 grams this week. Why would I change it? Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Okay, I'm a little bit sick of that breakfast now. I'll make another one. The best way. Following that structured weekly meal plan is the best thing that you can do. Keeping it simple, rinse and repeat. If you're somebody who wants to have a different breakfast, a different lunch, a different dinner every single day, you are going to make it so much harder for yourself. So much harder for yourself. Eat the same meals on repeat. Okay, that meal structure is super important. Now, another fantastic thing that I want to talk about in terms of like meal planning and meal structure, and I completely understand that this is going to vary for some individuals depending on what you do for work. All right. Particularly, like night shift, police women, police officers, firemen, firewomen, all these sort of jobs that require you to kind of have a little bit of a disturbed structure. This can be a little bit more difficult, but nonetheless, I want to touch on this point anyway. If you can set yourself structured meal times and promise to yourself that this is when I eat now and only now, you're setting yourself boundaries. You have to establish boundaries with yourself because if you don't, it's a free for all. Eat breakfast at the same time, eat lunch at the same time, eat dinner at the same time. I don't care if you're hungry or you're getting a little bit peckish, hold out. You're not going to die. Eat on those allocated meal times. Without boundaries, you're going to just slip into this mindless eating, and this lets so many people down. How often do we do it? And I'm guilty of it sometimes. We all do it, but we need to minimize it. You think I'm a bit hungry? I'll go to the pantry and grab a couple biscuits. It won't matter, but it does. Those 3 Tim Tams you grab from the fridge, that's 300 calories. You're eating dinner in an hour. What am I doing? Now, when you compound that interest day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, bang, this is why we're struggling with weight loss. Set those structured times. I guarantee you it will blow you away. And every time you eat outside of those meal times, you'll feel it. You'll be like, why did I do that? Why did I do that? Can I really not wait an hour for my next meal? It's like checkpoints in the day. Use each meal as a checkpoint. Oh, by the way, was that helpful? Was that a good tip? I know it sounds so simple, like just giving yourself some boundaries and structured meal times. Um, but oh my gosh, why are we making this so hard on ourselves? Okay. It really is about implementing a few tricks. Okay. You don't need a wobble board. What else? You don't need one of those little massage guns that sucks cellulite out of your legs. It's all an absolute load of BS. You need to follow basics. You need to know that the basics work and you need to turn up and do them. That's all you've got to do. Quick water break. Okay. Who likes to go out on the weekend and party? Who's a little bit of a weekend partier? Yeah, there you go. You don't need to lie to me. All right. Very good. But it can also be very bad. One thing that I need you to establish is on the weekend, your mindset has to be relatively close to what you do Monday through to Friday. Your 9 to 5 mindset. Unfortunately, so many people do such an extremely good job Monday through to Friday when it comes to following a meal plan, sticking to their calories, but then come Friday, you more or less celebrate yourself all the way back to the sorry, you celebrate yourself all the way back to the beginning. Okay? It's really unfortunate, but it does happen quite often. You can't make 1,000 good choices through the week and then go and blow it on the weekend because trust me, you know, going out for dinner 6 times across the weekend and drinking too much alcohol, it will undo everything. It will undo everything. Just like all of those little times that you snack outside of your eating windows, it will undo everything. You have to still implement those boundaries and that structure even across the weekends. So, something that myself and my wife do is Monday through to Sunday, we're doing more or less the same thing with our nutrition and our exercise. But, you still want to obviously go out and socialize. So, we might go out to dinner once a week. Okay. When we order off the menu, we're still making the better choice. Okay. We're still making sure that we're of course, ordering something that you are really excited to eat, but we're still making the better choice. We might have one or two alcoholic beverages, but that's it. Every now and then, of course, you're just going to throw caution to the wind and do whatever you want to do, but that doesn't matter. It's not the one blowout that causes weight gain, it is the continuous overconsumption of calories. That is what we're all doing. Okay. So you've got to really ensure that you do form a good relationship with food, understand that one bad meal isn't the end of things, understanding that you'll be out of routine sometimes and forced to make the better choice. All of that doesn't matter. You can go out on the weekend and enjoy a meal. That doesn't matter. When you look at the overarching scope of what we're trying to do, we're trying to turn up and make the better choice for ourselves 9 times out of 10. Okay. I don't care if you've got holidays through the year. I don't care if you've got a function. I don't care if you're going away for a wedding. When we statistically break down our year, we are in the 9 to 5 grind at least 95% of the time. So there's really no excuse not to achieve. Okay. All those events are part of life, and we need to know that we can attend those, enjoy ourselves, and get on with life. Okay. Because the next thing I want to talk about is weighing yourself and self-sabotage. Okay. Who is affected by seeing scale fluctuations? Let's get some love hearts. Boom, the biggest one. The biggest one. I think every single participant then just put their hand up. Now, I would say that women are much more affected by scale fluctuations. I think historically, scales have been a little bit more of a negative impact on women. But if you understand what scale fluctuations mean, you'll be like, oh my gosh, what was I so worried about? There's no boogeyman under the bed. What was I, it's imaginary. I want to make this really simple for you. When you are in a calorie deficit, your body will decrease in fat, more or less consistency. You'll get a few plateaus, but more or less, you'll consistently drop body fat when you put yourself into a calorie deficit. But can we all agree? Let's put on our logical brain. Can we all agree that the human body isn't just made up of body fat? Yeah? Okay, there we go. We're not just made up of body fat. When we weigh ourselves, we are going to see scale fluctuations due to digestive timing. Sometimes your digestion is going to be running a little slower. You're going to see scale fluctuations due to hydration levels. Maybe you drank more water the day before. Hydration levels are huge. Now, ladies, let's get a drum roll. You are going to see enormous scale fluctuations depending on that time of month due to hormonal fluctuations. Wherever you are in your cycle, you're going to see massive variations of scale fluctuations. Now, pad and pen. Everybody get your pad and pen out. I'm going to teach you how to weigh yourself. This is how our clients keep track of our weight. And I tell you this for a fact. I would say that this is probably the biggest reason why our clients have success with fat loss, because they know how to weigh themselves. If you don't know how to weigh yourself, you're going to follow a fat loss goal for 7 days, not see what you want to see, and you're going to quit. And we're not having that anymore. It changes tonight for all of you. You are going to get up in the morning, every single morning, and weigh yourself on an empty stomach. Okay. If you want to go to the toilet first, strip yourself nude, jump on the scales, weigh yourself, record it. You are going to do that every day, Monday through to Sunday. You're then going to add up all of your weights and divide that by 7. This is going to give you your weekly average weight. This is the only number that you got to focus on. Now, you're not going to get fixated on what you see on the scales on a daily basis. You're also not going to get fixated on what you see on the scales over a weekly basis. I want you to look at your data over a 14-day period. If you see your average weight continuing to come down over a 14-day period, you know that you are in a successful calorie deficit. Now, the reason why a lot of people fail on a fat loss goal when it comes to weighing yourself, like I said, is not having the understanding of how to weigh yourself. You may be in a successful calorie deficit and you've sabotaged yourself so many times. Weigh yourself on Monday, 80 kilos. Weigh yourself on Sunday. Why am I still 80 kilos? Because you only weighed yourself 2 times in a week, you don't realize that on Thursday or Friday, you're actually 79.2. You're going to see scale fluctuations and you got to accept it. It's going to happen. You go out to an event for a weekend, you overconsume calories, you might see an even bigger scale fluctuation. That doesn't mean that you've gained 3 kilos of body fat just because you had a weekend away. You're holding on to more fluid. You had more sodium, more alcohol, more carbohydrates. All these things are going to make you hold on to fluid. You have to not get too obsessed with what you see on the scales in the short term, because it will gobble you up, spit you out, and hold you back on a weight loss goal forever. Trust me. Please show me some love hearts if that all made sense and you have got a better understanding of scale fluctuations and you are going to implement that. Please, please do it. You've got no idea how much you can succeed when you understand that. Over a 10-week period, instead of seeing a scale fluctuation in week 1 or week 2 and quitting, you push through. You keep on turning up for yourself. You keep on making a better choice with your calories. And in 10 weeks, you can lose 5 to 10 kilos. Sabotage. Sabotage is a huge one. Sabotage, from what I've seen in my years of coaching, generally comes from 2 different categories. Category number 1, it comes from a negative relationship with food. You have one biscuit, or for my US viewers, a cookie. And it gets into your head, doesn't it? You tell yourself that you're the worst person in the world. I had a biscuit. How dare I enjoy a biscuit? I'm meant to be banishing those out of my life forever. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to sabotage myself. I'm going to punish myself. I'm going to eat that whole packet of biscuits. And you know what? Guess what? Tomorrow, we're done. I'm not doing this weight loss thing anymore. I blew it. I had a biscuit. You have to have a good relationship with food. It's crucial. There is no such thing, in fact, as a good or bad food. All we have to do is make sure that we make the better choice with our calories 9 times out of 10. You can't eat a biscuit and sabotage your weight loss goal. You can't say, gosh, I enjoyed a glass of wine with my girlfriend on the weekend. I just had one, but I'm a bad person. I'm terrible. I quit. What's the point? We're human. It's okay to enjoy food. It's okay to enjoy things. Stop sabotaging yourself. It's really, really negative and it's holding you back. The second reason I see people sabotage their weight loss goal is the scales. Okay, scale fluctuations is a massive one. Now that you have an understanding of the scales, you should be able to remove yourself from that. Now that you have a better understanding of nutrition, of calories, you should also be able to remove yourself from that negative mindset. Weight loss and weight management, believe me, has got nothing to do with being on a fad diet. It's got nothing to do with being on a keto diet. It's got nothing to do with being on a juice cleanse. It's got nothing to do with that cream. It's got nothing to do with that workout that you saw on Instagram. It is far more basic than that. It is far more basic than that. If you approach a style of fat loss that is fad based, you need to know that you are setting yourself up for failure, because the only way that you will know how to lose weight is how you get it off. So if you only know how to lose weight through pain, torture, negativity, self-deprivation, sabotage, you're not going to be able to sustain that. You can't stick to it. It's impossible. And I'm probably preaching to the choir, but you may have found yourself at this stage of your life. You've gone around the block a few times with diets. You've tried absolutely everything. And now that you've heard everything that I've spoken to you about, you can probably have a bit of a reflection and go, my gosh, what I was doing was toxic. I can't stick to that. That doesn't make me happy. It honestly worries me, the thought that there are so many people on this planet who wake up every single day and think about their weight. They go to bed every single night and think about their weight, judge themselves for the choices that they've made with their nutrition. And it becomes this all-consuming beast, basically. I don't want you to get to your deathbed, look back at your life and go, my gosh, I spent my entire life. Think about it. I spent my entire life battling weight, having a negative relationship with food. I didn't eat a piece of cake at my daughter's wedding because I was on a keto diet. I cannot have it. I cannot have it. There is a better life out there for all of you. Trust me. Ladies and gents, I just want to say thank you so much to each and every single one of you for turning up and coming to this webinar. Like I said at the start, the fact that you're here, it tells me that your health is important to you. And you know how much of a fantastic start that already is. You didn't have to be here. You didn't have to listen to this. You could have watched maths. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that you could have done. But you care about your health, you care about your weight loss, and you want to achieve a result. So ladies and gents, thank you so much for being here. I do plan on doing a few more of these live events because I do think that they're so valuable, not only for you guys, but it's also valuable for me. I love talking about this. I love sharing my knowledge, and I do hope that you've picked something up from tonight's webinar. Now, the reality is there is a portion of you who are going to take on board all this information, and you're going to be able to implement it, and you're going to be able to have some success. And to you, I say, fantastic. I wish you all the best. But there's also going to be a portion of you who still think, you know what? And there's no judgment here. I actually fall into category 2. I'm not a category 1 person. I need help with lots of things in my life. So if you're in a position where you think, you know what, that was actually really good information, but I would rather just achieve results straight away and learn as I go, we can obviously take care of that. All of our meal plans are 100% custom to each individual. Everything you get stays on your device forever. So even when you are outside of your coaching period with us, you're always going to have a blueprint to follow. Okay. So if you would like any more information, feel free to shoot me an email. In saying that, if you do forget, I am going to send each and every single one of you a thank you email with some information for our program. And of course, we would love to have you on board. Ladies and gents, thank you so much for being here. It was an amazing hour chatting to all of you, and I cannot wait to chat to you on the next seminar. And I think everything went pretty well. Okay, the light stayed on, the microphone seems to still be working, the monitors here. How good is that? How good is that? Learning new things and achieving them. It's an exciting process. All right, thank you so much. I've got to learn how to turn this thing off now. It's right here. Peace out. Love you all, no matter where you are in the world. Have a fantastic day or night.